Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video we're doing my September reading wrap up. I'm not doing the pyramid because it is so late into the month, but I still want to talk about the books I read in September because some of them don't have reading vlogs that are getting filmed for them, and I did want to talk about these books specifically. I also wanted to talk about how my September TBR was completed. I had 3 books that I wanted to read and I read those 3 books. For my stats for the month of September, I read 12 books with an average rating of 3.41 of all the 12 books. I read 3,537 pages, and my genre breakdown for September was 3 romances, 6 general fiction books, 2 fantasy, and 1 classic. Those are my stats for the month of September. Let's just get into it. The first book that I read in September was Between Us by Vari McFarlane. This is a contemporary romance book. It doesn't focus on the romance, and so if you go in for this for romance, you might be, what's it called? What's the word? Upset. Not upset. You might be disappointed in the romance of the book. I didn't really care about the romance too much, but basically we follow our main character, Rasheen. She's been with her partner, Joe, and he is a screenwriter for TV. His new TV show is hitting the air, and so her, Joe, and their group of friends are at this getaway. They watched the first episode of Joe's new TV show and she's like, oh my god, that's very similar to what we're our group dynamic and our friends and everything like that. So she's red flags are starting up. She's what is this man doing? And it follows that and what she figures out through the TV show that Joe has, and every episode she's learning new information, and so she's kind of digging up things that are seen in the TV show and seeing if they're true in real life too. So this book is that. I really liked our main character. I just don't really care for this cover. I think this cover's really ugly, I'm not gonna lie. So Rashid's hair is not this color. This is bright purple basically. In my head it's more a plum burgundy color. So this is just that, and I don't care for the cartoon covers most of the time, so I just hate that. But I liked the way that Vari McFarlane wrote. I thought it was so fun. The plot's not as fast moving as I would expect it to be. I did feel kind of stuck when I was reading it. I wasn't absorbed into the plot. But I'll read you a quote. She can write down thoughts that you have and really put it to words, so it's really good. It was as if their love was a neglected autumn leaf strewn swimming pool. It technically still existed, yet Joe had drained the water out inch by inch. If you jumped into it, there was nothing there. That's just a way to put it. You know what I mean? I really enjoyed it. It was fun. I gave this 4 stars. The next book I read was Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. This is a modern day classic. I read this because I wanted to watch the movie. Haven't watched the movie still, but I really enjoyed this. I gave it a 4.5. This is just letters that our main character Charlie writes, and he's just talking about his time in his first year of high school and the hardship he goes through, his mental health, everything like that, and just the friendships that he made in this, and the way he talks about how he loves people is just so heartwarming to read about. Here's one I just opened up to. I am very interested and fascinated by how everyone loves each other, but no one really likes each other. Let me do another one. And all the books you've read have been read by other people, and all the songs you've loved have been heard by other people. I just think it's really well written, and I liked learning about Charlie. It's sweet and everything, but it's not you're not even there sometimes. It's great that you can listen and be a shoulder to someone, but what about when someone doesn't need a shoulder? What if they need the arms or something like that? You can't just sit there and put everyone's lives above yours and think that counts as love. You just can't. You have to do things. Loved it. 4.5 stars. Really nice. I really enjoyed the book. So next I read Unsteady by Peyton Corin. This is a hockey figure skater college romance. I was just in the mood for it, okay, and I read it. I saw this on Kindle Unlimited. I was like, okay, let me get to this. So our main character Reese, he is the captain of the hockey team. He has an accident, and so he's really traumatized getting back in the ice, stuff like that. And then he meets this one girl at a local skating rink. Her name's Sadie. She is a older sister to her 2 brothers, and she kind of looks after them. She that's their family dynamic. She really just provides for the family, and she does everything for them. And so he meets her, she kind of helps him, and then they kind of do a friends with benefits thing. It comes more found family at the end, especially with her 2 brothers and Reese's family and stuff like that. So people said it reminds them of the dynamic between Johnny and Shannon, and I kind of really see that from Binding and Keeping 13. So I see that. So if you like that, read this. But I gave this 2 stars. I just think it was so physical. I wasn't expecting it to be physical, and Reese was just such a sweetheart. He was I'll do anything she wants, blah 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 blah, and good on her part, because she I think she said what she needed to have in that time, and she was just not ready for a relationship, so good on her. I just don't really care. I just didn't care. I didn't remember their names, and it was just it was a fine book. Nothing to write home about, really. The writing was fine. I think all romances can be cringy, so that's just that. I mean, it was fine. So 2 stars for that book. Next I read Gallant by V.E. Schwab. This is a YA horror paranormal type of book. And so we basically follow our main character Olivia, and she is in like this kind of, it's not like an orphanage, but it's like a house for girls that don't have families, but like it's not like an adoption center, so it's not like an orphanage, but like she's at this house. She doesn't really have a family. She has one notebook from her mom that she just like loves and she like knows everything about, and so she's always like, what's this? One day she gets a letter from her uncle. It's like, oh, we want you to come home, like come to Gallant. She's like, okay, I'll go, because like I don't have a family. So she goes to Gallant. Her uncle's not there, and then she's met with her cousin, and and her cousin's like, you need to leave, like we can't have you here, like this is not it. And so the Gallant house is something that has been warned to Olivia by her mother, and is like, never go there. And so she goes to Gallant. It's like kind of like Coraline-esque, like alternate dimension and like ghost. So there's that. I gave it 3.5 stars. I wasn't really connected to the characters, but I thought the plot was really fun, and I love the way V.E. Schwab writes. I think it's just really easy to like get sucked in. So I thought this was fun. It wasn't like the best thing I've ever read, but it was better than mediocre. Like 3 is my mediocre, like I recommend, but I really enjoyed like the ambiance of this. So if you really like, I don't know, like it's not like horror because it is YA, and it's like not really like, it doesn't really go into depth, but it was fine. I like the atmosphere of like gothic horror type of books, and so if you really want like a digestible way to read it, read this. Next I read Bunny by Mona Awad. I gave this one 4 stars. I thought it was so fun. I just didn't know what to expect, and so like the ending really made it together. Some people I feel like aren't understanding the ending, and by understanding I watched this one girl's TikTok and it really made sense, but like a lot of it was like, oh, this is just a like schizophrenic vision that our main character's having, and I was like, I don't believe that. So Bunny by Mona Awad. So basically we follow our main character Samantha, and she is like at this like prestigious like college for her writing, and so like in her writing workshop there's 4 girls that she's in the workshop with, and they call each other Bunny. They have like this group togetherness, like they do everything together. They're like, they call each other bunnies, but like they always refer to themselves as us instead of like me or like anything like that. And I think the writing here is so fun. It was so like weird to like get into, but yeah, I really liked it. So Samantha, she's like, oh my god, those bunnies are weird, and then she has a best friend that's like, oh yeah, they're crazy. And so one day Samantha gets like an invite to like the bunnies like group cult type of thing, and so like she kind of gets like sucked up into like the bunniness. Like that was fun. And then her like understanding and revealing all the secrets that happen in this, crazy 4 stars. I think it was really good. It was just a really good book. I really recommend it. I think Samantha was like a good character, but like I wasn't like really attached to anybody like that crazy, and I think it's like hard to do that in like this short of a book. So 4 stars is a good rating for this. The ending was so crazy that like I would recommend it just to read the ending, because it's so good. So there's that. Next is a book that it's like a part of a reading vlog. I won't give my ratings for any of the books that are in this reading vlog because you have to watch that, but I'm gonna give you like a summary of every book, but I won't go into depth my thoughts. So you just have to watch that reading vlog whenever it comes out. Don't know. I'm still working through them. But yeah, I read Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. This is like a YA fiction type of book. We follow our main character Aza, and she has OCD and like anxiety around like medical things. That's basically our main character. There happens to be a like disappearance of a millionaire, like a billionaire type of person in their town. She was like kind of friends with the billionaire who's went missing son, and so her and her best friend Daisy are like broke. They're like, ooh, if we find out some information and relate it to the police, we can get like reward money. And so they kind of go to that friend that Aza had when she was like a child, and then they kind of like get wrapped up into like solving this case. Basically there's that's basically the premise. I'm not really talking about my thoughts because you have to watch that video, but read this. Next, I read The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This is the gothic book. I gave this 3.75 stars. I liked it. I think some parts were in the middle were like really like, ooh, whatever. But like the ending, the beginning, I really enjoyed it. I just think like a lot of classics like kind of lack plot sometimes, and especially in the middle of the books, and I'm just like, please, can we get on with this? Which is kind of crazy because it's like not a long book, but I did like kind of like feel swamped in the middle of the book. So basically, we follow our main character, Dorian Gray. We start out with Basil. He's like an artist, and he's like painting a portrait of Dorian Gray. And so his other friend kind of meets him, and then Dorian Gray kind of gets like swept up into society, and he's not his like pure self that he was in the beginning of the book when it was just him and Basil. It kind of gets that, and it kind of like dissolves into like the demise of Dorian Gray and like what happens, how he went mad and everything like that. That's the book. That's the premise. I think you all know it. It's like a classic. I think you all know what happens at the end of it, but I'm not gonna say it. So next I read Paper Towns by John Green. Are you sensing what the video is about? But I read Paper Towns by John Green. This basically follows Quentin. He had a childhood best friend named Margot. So Margot and Quentin, they haven't like really been friends for a long time because Margot's like the popular girl and he's like kind of like the whatever loser. It's like the end of senior year. She goes up to his window one night and she's like, we have to pull off these pranks. So they're staying up all night doing these pranks and stuff like that. And then the next day, Quentin's like, oh my god, are we friends again? Because he's been in love with Margot forever. He goes to school, she's not there. And everyone's like, oh my god, Margot's gone. And so the police get involved and they're like, oh, Margot ran away from home. Like, she's 18 years old, so like there's nothing we can really do. So she's like kind of gone. And so Quentin is like dead set on the thought that Margot left these clues for him to find her. And so he's trying to find her. He involves his like group of friends trying to find Margot. There's the premise for this. The movie that comes along with this. I think you all have seen it. I haven't seen the actual movie. I didn't know what this is about, so it was kind of a fun ride. There's that book. You have to watch my reading vlog to figure out what I actually thought of this book. So yeah. Next I read Looking for Alaska by John Green. So this one follows like a before and after timeline of this event that we don't know what's happened. In the beginning, Miles is going to this new boarding school, and so he meets his friends in the boarding school. It like has his time like studying, being friends, like going into like all these different types of things with his friends. And so that's like the before. It reminds me of Dead Poet Society, like that type of boarding school like experience. I thought that was fun. And then the after follows the aftermath of this one specific event, and so what happens to the friendships after that. So I thought it was a really good book. That's all you have to know about Looking for Alaska. Find out my thoughts in that reading vlog. It's worth it, guys.
Brother, this guy stinks!
I'm so sorry I can't really talk to you. That's why I didn't want to do a pyramid wrap up, because I didn't want to talk about the rating I gave these books and what I felt about them because of reading vlogs coming out. So I didn't know if I didn't want to do a wrap up in general or like just like kind of talk about them, like what they're about. Next I read Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I think this is my 4th Emily Henry book that I've read this year. This is my 3rd reread of an Emily Henry book. I read Happy Place, Book Lovers, People Communication, and then I read Funny Story for the first time this year when it came out, and I reread Beach Read last year. I remember not really liking this one. Loved it the second time around. I loved Charlie and Nora's relationship was so good too. I'm giving this a 4.5 stars. This was my book club's pick, and so I thought it was really fun. I love the way Emily Henry writes. I love the way the plot develops. I remember when I first read this, I hated Nora's sister, Libby. I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't like this book as much as I do now. This basically follows Nora Stevens and her younger sister, Libby. And so they kind of go on like summer vacation type of thing to Sunshine Falls, North Carolina, because it's a setting of like a book that Libby had helped publish because she's that author's agent, and then Libby loves that book. And so there she meets a rival, Charlie Lastra, who was pitched the Sunshine Falls book and declined it. He said he didn't really like it. So Charlie and Nora are like not on a great foot because he dunked on her client's book. And so they meet each other and they're like, oh my god, what are you doing here? Blah blah blah. And so Libby and Nora, it's their summer away before Nora like has her 3rd child, and so they're trying to like do this like checklist of like things to do during the summer in Sunshine Falls, and it really gives off like Gilmore Girl vibes, like Stars Hollow type of thing. It's like that small town aesthetic. I thought this was really fun. I thought it was cute, and I love Charlie and Nora. So yeah, 4.5 stars. In my like rankings of Emily Henry books, I think this is 3rd. It goes Happy Place, Beach Read, Book Lovers, Funny Story, and then People Meet on Vacation. So yeah, that's my Emily Henry ranking. Next I read The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. This took me a whole week. This took me a week to read. I was reading this so slowly, and I abhor the like physical copy, so I read this on my Kindle like most of the time, and I would just like mark my progress in the book. I gave this 4 stars. Okay, but I think I liked the plot. I think the plot, especially after Mistborn, seeing this new society get rebuilt and like the politics being like established from the ground up and like everything that happens after that, and I think Brandon Sanderson did a really good job at like exploring that and like exploring like a new society being built after like a tyrannical rule. So I thought that was like interesting. I think sometimes it flowed really slowly, and I think for a 600-page book, it's hard to like keep me engaged all the time if I'm not reading this really fast. I think it was fine. I loved the dynamics between Vin and all the characters inside of here. I loved Vin's character development in this. There was like this one character that I was just like, okay, whatever, I just don't care. It's just basically politics in this book. There's not really that much action, but when there was action, it was fun. I don't think I can like read the action and like directly put that into like a picture in my mind, so it's like it's a little difficult to like read their action in the Mistborn series, but I think it's really well thought out. I think it's really really cool. And like, I'm just following all. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, that's happening. I gave it 4 stars. I think I gave Mistborn 4.25 stars. I liked this less than Mistborn, but I liked it enough. So I will continue on with the 3rd installment of the Mistborn, like original trilogy. And then I have to read like some other like standalones in the Cosmere, and then I can get to the Way of Kings. So yeah, there's that. And then the last book I read in September was An Abundance of Catherines by John Green. Can't really talk too much, but basically our main character Colin, he's dated 19 Catherines. And so he's like, oh my god, I need to find like a theorem of like how, like the relationship between the people that are doing the dumping and people that are getting dumped. And so he's like a washed up like genius kid. And so he's like trying to find his footing. He's like, what am I without academics? What am I without being the genius? Because he's like whatever now. Him and his best friend Hassan go on a road trip, and then they go into a town in Tennessee and kind of just like rediscover themselves, because Hassan's not like having the best time. He's just like kind of stuck in life. Colin's like having an existential crisis, like who am I without Catherine, and who am I without my genius? So there's that. That's this book. And so those are all the books that I read in September. Very quick, easy reading wrap up. Hope you guys enjoyed listening to the books that I read in September, what they're about, and my thoughts on them. I love you guys. Look out for my next videos. I'm filming like a couple videos right now, but they are gonna take a while, so bear in mind, like, comment, subscribe. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!